Welcome to the PCB cooking show, where today I'm going to show you how I made this new PCB hot plate. If you remember, a few months ago I made this prototype, which totally sucked given all the problems that it had. So let me show you how I tried to fix them. I started with the track resistance. Last time I messed this up because I based my target resistance based on the thermal properties of flexible PCBs. So my goal was to achieve 25 ohms, which I also simulated incorrectly because the actual resistance was measured to be 38 ohms. After the video I found that the error in my simulation was including the plating thickness. To power the hot plate with like 12 volts, the target resistance should be much lower. In fact, I verified this with some research and I found that 3D printed heel beds usually have a resistance that is less than 2 ohms. So I recalculated everything with a 1 ohm target to find the new properties of the track. The next thing I had to figure out is how to make the PCB more rigid. Although the first PCB had an aluminum core, it was still bendy. It also expanded with heat and the air slots were creating a temperature difference, which was creating a problem for small size PCBs. So I took the decision to remove all the slots and make the PCB a little bit thicker. This would obviously increase the thermal mass, but I tried to mitigate this by selecting aluminum with better thermal conductivity. My next goal was to design a beautiful board using Altium Designer. I decided to go with a heating area of 12 cm diameter, which is supported by another circular ring to hold the standoff feet. This had to have exposed copper so that it can be kept at a cooler temperature. Passing the thermal track within the circular outline was a little bit tricky, but Altium's interactive length tuning feature made things really easy. It also let me add some warning signs on the seal screen for extra safety. If you'd like to test this PCB design software for free, you can click the link in my description. And if you're already an Altium user or would like to purchase a license, you can get 30% off. PCB fried egg. Actually tastes good. I know that having a circular design wastes some area, but I think it looks way cooler than a squarish one. The aluminum backside of the PCB is also covered in solder mask. This will avoid any shorts with the top connector. I will talk about this connector and why I made it the way it is in the temperature controller video, but for now let's just see if this PCB hot plate works. The track resistance was right on target, so my old power supply was not going to supply enough current, so it was time to order a new one. This linear programmable monster has 2 channels and one of them can output 360 watts, which would be more than enough for a little heater. I connected my PCB hot plate and started measuring the temperature against the voltage. This is the full result, and as you can see at 12 volts it goes to around 195 degrees Celsius. Which is just perfect because I only want to reflow some low temperature solder paste. Remember that these aluminum PCBs are recommended to operate below 250 degrees Celsius, so we are still in the range. Now I posted a photo of this PCB on my social platforms and some people suggested that if I make a black solder mask it would absorb heat faster, thus making it more efficient. So let's test that. This matte black PCB also looks cool, but I think the purple one stands out more. But if it's more efficient, it would change everything. I repeated the voltage versus temperature test and the same maximum temperature was reached. Then I tested the 2 boards against time, starting at 0 volts room temperature and then instantly powering them with 12 volts. I thought that the black solder mask PCB would reach the temperature quicker, but I was wrong. So based on these tests, I'm going to stick with the perfect purple. The exposed copper on the outer ring also worked because its temperature was much lower. There was no sign of mechanical bending during this test, but things quickly changed when I tried to overpower the thing with 360 watts. 30 volts, 12 amps test in 3, 2, 1. So it's safe to say that the voltage should not exceed 12 volts. The next step is to reflow some boards to verify its purpose, but before we do that I want to solve one last design problem. The peak power of this PCB hot plate is around 132 watts, which slowly starts dropping as the track resistance increases with heat. So the exposed copper on this connector is kind of dangerous. Apart from the safety aspect, soldering anything to an aluminum core PCB is really irritating because its thermal capacity would make your soldering iron weak. Connecting the wrong wire could also create unnecessary voltage losses. So I think I'm going to eliminate all the wires and instead flex things up with a harness. This PCB harness has 1 ounce thick copper. The tracks are 7.6 mm wide, connected with vias on 2 layers. I attached it to the hot plate using nylon bolts. It looked like it needed to be a little bit longer, but it handled the current like a champ. So I think we can start testing reflow. Here we go. Yay, it worked. It's not my best stenciling job, but the hot plate worked. Now remember that we're still missing the controller here, so we're not following the temperature reflowing profile, but powering it with just 11 volts gets the job done. Now, as a final conclusion, some of you have been asking me if I'm going to make this kit available on my website, and to be honest with you, I was planning to do that, but the PCB failed one final test. I left it powered with 12 volts for a couple of hours, and the solder mask started discoloring. This problem can obviously get solved by having a darker solder mask. I tested the black one and it didn't do it. But this discoloring problem shouldn't have happened with the ratings I've got, so I reached again to my PCB manufacturer. And turns out there was a misunderstanding, because they sent me the data sheet and the TG value is specified to be 130 degrees Celsius. So the 250 degrees Celsius limit they gave me before was for short term, like during soldering. The board is obviously still functional because it's only a single layer and doesn't include any vias, so the TG rating should not affect it that much, but it's still out of spec. This is kind of a bummer, but there are other options left on the table, which I'm going to experiment with in version 3. So if you want to keep updated on this project, make sure you stick around. Bye bye! Turns out it's not a non-stick.